Mr. Deputy Speaker, I regard to part A of the question. The public sector debt in nominal terms amounted to 238 billion rupees as at the end of December 2019 and rose, 2014, and rose to 608.2 billion rupees as at the end of December 2024. In other words, from 238 billion in December 2014 to 608.2 billion in December 2024. In other words, Mr. Deputy Speaker, if we just make a quick calculation, it has almost doubled over the 10-year period. At the time we left office in December 2014, the public sector debt to the GDP ratio stood at 59.5%, which was below the 60% then in force, which we had put it in together with what was being done in Europe, 60% of GDP. However, the previous government's irresponsible fiscal stewardship resulted in a sharp increase in the debt ratio, reaching 87.4% by December 2024. They had themselves extended the ceiling to a statutory ceiling of 80%. From 60% to 80%. And they themselves raised that, again, went to 87.4%. The ceiling was raised precisely in an attempt to conceal the extent of the fiscal mismanagement. That is why it was done. In real terms, that is after adjusting for the rise in GDP deflate over the past 10 years, public sector debt stood around 382 billion as at the end of December 2024. And concerning part B of the question, it is manifestly evident that the estimated level of public debt of 642 billion rupees is unsustainable. We cannot sustain it. According to the 2025 IMF Article 4 consultation report, Mauritius is at a high risk of sovereign stress, reflecting mostly a high level of vulnerability in the medium and long term. This is why I say to the people who supposedly are protesting, they have no idea. They have no idea what they're saying. The previous government has burdened this country with an overwhelming level of debt. In the fiscal year 2024-2025 alone, public sector debt rose by 83 billion rupees, which is equivalent to an average daily increase of 227 million rupees. We had no option, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we had no option to act responsibly and come up with a fiscal consolidation plan with concrete measures aimed at reducing both the budget deficit and the public sector debt, which the previous government saddled the country with. Without the implementation of these measures, public sector debt would have spiraled out of control, and they would have had severe repercussions on the public finances, also on the broader economy, and on the well-being of the population, including, I tell people who don't realize, including no pension to anyone in the coming decades if we don't do anything now. Not even 60, nobody would get pensions. This is what we are facing. This would have been inevitably also, Mr. Deputy Speaker, led to a downgrade of our credit rating to junk status by Moody's. Some people don't understand. Why should we care about Moody's? There are consequences. Such a downgrade would have had far-reaching implications, including higher borrowing costs, adverse effects on the financial services sector. The financial sector would be dead. The depreciation of the rupee will continue. Capital flight will increase. Will go more and more. Why would people put money in a country which has junk status? Nobody does this. FDI, therefore, would actually reduce to practically nil, and there would be broader negative effects on the economy. It would seriously, very seriously, jeopardize our long-term fiscal stability. With respect to debt servicing, interest payments on government debt, just interest payment, I think many people don't realize. Juste sur les intérêts qu'on doit payer, c'est 21,8 milliards for 2024-2025, just to pay for the debt, for the interest on the debt. This is the second largest expenditure in the whole government budget after the basic retirement pension. This year, due to substantial debt accumulation over the past decade again, interest rates are projected to rise to a staggering 26.1 billion rupees. Some people might say, but you have been in government, but the debt is there. We have to pay the interest on the debt. It will be 26.1 billion rupees. This is a rise of 20% already compared to the preceding year. It's not our doing, it's the debt that they have accumulated that we have to pay now. Instead of paying 26.1 billion rupees as interest on debt, imagine that amount of money could have been used more effectively. It could have been allocated to different sectors, priority sectors such as education, such as health, such as housing. This money could have gone there. The money we have to pay the debt, the interest on the debt. Thus, the opportunity cost of high debt servicing is substantial. It diverts resources, as I said, from the developmental priorities that could stimulate economic growth and improving living standards. Sustained high-level debt, if less unaddressed, risks undermining, as I said, the whole country's growth potential and fiscal resilience. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is why we have made a firm commitment to reclaim the fiscal serenity and gradually bring the public sector debt to a GDP ratio to a more sustainable level of 60%, as it was when we left government in 2014.